Hi everyone, today we are here. We visit Chris, so it's time to ask him what happened, what really happened, why he ended up homeless. Hi Chris,
Hey,
how are you?
better today. Now hopefully all the documents are done. So yeah, finally we'll get to go home after a year and a half, or closer to 2 years. It's been a long road to get here today, and it's all thanks to you.
Yeah, what happened to you why you end up homeless?
Well, I met a woman about 4 years ago, and she was in Dubai, and then I came here and I met her, and then um, I met her in Manila here and stayed at Lime Hotel. We had a good 7 days holiday. Then I went home and she didn't have any money, and she was a caretaker. She never owned a house in her life, and I was making good money, like pretty big money in Australia in my job. And so I bought her a house and I put it in her name. Then I went home and I came back on in about the 8th of October 2022. And then when I came back, it was probably a fair bit of my fault. I should have seen the warning signs and the alarm. You know, I should have seen the red flags. And when I came back the second time, she'd stolen a thousand Australian dollars from my wallet. And I said, "Give me back my money." And I said, "No, I'll forget about it." I said, "Otherwise, I'll go home and I won't come back. I won't never see you again." So I left and I went to Puerto Princesa because she denied taking the money. And I stayed in a resort. It took her 1 day to find me. Then when I told her, I got security to throw her out of the resort so I could return, and because my plane was leaving in 2 days. So she went into the PNP, the Philippine National Police headquarters, and tried to file a case against me for assaulting her, which was a complete lie, because what she did is when we were at the house and when she'd stolen my money, she threw a glass in the sink and the glass broke. Then she went and cleaned it up and she got a small cut on her hand. And then when I went in and I explained the story, my version of the story to the PNP didn't believe her, and they said, "Chris, just go home and don't come back." And I said, "Fine, I'll get on my plane." So I got on the plane and went home. When I got back to my country in Australia, she rang and begged and pleaded and everything to win me back, because I was sending her around 40,000 a month salary. Like, I was giving her every month, so she didn't have to go to work, 40,000 every month plus money for building. So if I went back to Australia, she wouldn't get that money anymore. So she begged and she did everything she could possibly do. So anyway, after that, I sort of came back to the Philippines. I caved in, because I thought, I bought the house and I've already invested a bit, and I thought I'll give her a second chance. And then I came back for about another year and a half, I suppose, and everything was going along really well. Like, it was okay. I came back here and I kept extending the house, buying furniture, doing all these things. And then it was I sold my house in Australia. I sold everything I owned. I quit my job and I moved here on December 24. Christmas Eve I arrived here, 2024. And when I got here, that's when everything started to change for the worse. I had a week's holiday with her. Then after a week holiday, had a really good holiday in Puerto Princesa. Then when I got back to my house was completely empty. She'd sold everything out of the house. And like I said, I'd put the house in her name because as a foreigner, I'm not allowed to own land. Anyway, and I thought, well, it's too late now. I've sold everything in Australia. I'll just stay and I'll try and make the most of it. And as time goes by, I mean, I've had 3 burglaries, but now I found out through the PNP that they didn't believe that I was actually robbed by people. She was getting me drunk, letting me go to sleep, and then my money would disappear during the night. She'd say, "Oh, we've been robbed." And this happened to me many times. Anyway, I'd bought several businesses. I had a piggery, I had a sari store, I'd bought her 3 clothes stores, and she drilled them all in the ground. She bankrupted every single one of them within 6 months, and I lost a huge amount of money. I bought a motorcycle, and it was 2 months old. I paid 96,000 pesos for the motorcycle. And after 2 months, she goes, "Chris, you left the key in it. You left it on the road and somebody stole it." But she actually sold it to one of her friends. And I only just found this out about a month ago. All this that I'm talking about now, about the way she scammed me and how it happened, was only found out after she disappeared, and I haven't seen her since. Anyway, this was a regular thing, you know, and eventually my money started to go down and down and down. I won't go into everything she did to me, but I couldn't work it out. I couldn't work it out for a long time. Then she would disappear. Like, just I'd go in and have a shower, I'd come out, and she'd be gone. She'd take my passport, she'd take my cell phone, she'd take the money and leave me there for anywhere up to 4 months in my house with my dog. Completely nothing. I'd have to go to my neighbours and beg for a little bit of dried fish and some rice just to survive. And then all of a sudden, after a couple of months, she'd just come walking back down the driveway like, "Hey Chris, how you going?" Like she'd only just been down the grocery store. And then in the end, to cut a long story short, she took off, and this was when she went for the longest period. And what I didn't realise at the time was she went to Nara and she was living with a 64-year-old Filipino man for like 3 months. She would say to him, "Oh, I've got to go back to my house in Las Saminda." She never lived in Las Saminda, but that's what she told him. And she confided in this man that she was pretending to be his partner. But after that, she'd leave there and she'd come back and stay with me for 5 days. And I didn't know this at the time. Then she'd go back to this other Filipino man. Then eventually she won his confidence and then said, "Oh, can I borrow 120,000 pesos? She actually stole that money and disappeared. And from what I gather, he's filed a case against her already. So I'm living in the house, and now I know where she got the money to buy the clothes store. She got 120,000 pesos from this man. She went to San Juan. She opened up a clothes store, but she only rented the store. She didn't own the building, but she owned the clothes from the money she bought. And because I wouldn't leave the house and I refused, I said, if I have to leave my house, I said, I'll fight you in the courts. I said, and I'll show all my documents and everything else. And I said, no, I just won't leave the house. But she had to get me out of the house because this was all a part of the scam. So she said to me, "Chris, come and live with me in San Juan, and we'll give it one last try, and I'll look after you," you know, because I had no food, I had nothing, and I felt like I had no choice. So stupid me, and this was a stupid mistake that cost me everything. I went and lived in the store in San Juan with her, and unbeknownst to me, she sold my house out from under me. I built that house and it cost me a few million pesos. I think she sold it for about 200,000 pesos in Avalon. And I didn't know. So she'd done this deal without me knowing. Then after she'd sold the house, she deliberately made an argument with me because I hate fighting with people. So I would go out for the day. And when I went out for the day, she completely emptied the store. She took all the stock, all the product, everything out of the store. So my house is gone. All the clothes in the store, everything where I was living was all gone. Next minute, the P&P turns up. The owner of the store turns up and said, "Chris, you've got to leave." I said, "Well, where am I going to go?" She just made me homeless. I've got no money. She took my cell phone. I mean, thanks to me, she gave me a cell phone. And I had nowhere to go. So I actually went, I wasn't under arrest, but I actually went and lived in the police station for 3 weeks, and the police took care of me. And then that's eventually when I met another lady, which introduced me to you. And then basically you saved my life, because if you didn't do it, I honestly don't think I would be here now.
But what happened to your ears?
Well, after about, it was about 8 months, probably about 8 months, around the time when she sold that motorcycle. That was one of the things, because she was selling the stock from the store, but she wasn't using the money, the profit, to buy more stock. She would say, "Chris, I'll go and get money from your Australian bank account and buy more stock." So I'd buy more stock, put it in the store, she'd sell it, the money would disappear, and this kept happening. And it got to the point I said, no more. I said, "I'm not putting any more stock in the store because I'm not getting money back, I'm losing money." And then this created a big problem, a big fight with her. And I said, fine. So I went into the bedroom and I laid down because I was sleeping out the back of the store because it was a big store. And then she came over with a samurai sword, and it was still in the cover, but it was razor sharp. And I said, "What are you going to do that?" I said, "You're going to hit me with it?" I said, "Go on ahead, hit me." So she did. And she nearly severed my head. She cut my ear off completely here. Cut me across here. I got over nearly 25 stitches, and I had to put my fingers this deep into my neck to stop the bleeding. She panicked. She rang the ambulance and came and sat by my bedside and held my hand while the doctors sewed me up from the injury that she'd caused me. It was just, when she didn't get her own way, she'd resort to violence. I mean, she hit me across the hand that hard. She broke my finger, and I can't even straighten my finger anymore. A piece of wood straight across the hand. And because she had connections with her friends, the people important in the community, I knew it was a waste of time to go and file a case against her, because she would turn around and go, oh, yeah, Chris is drunk and Chris is violent and Chris is this, when it was complete nonsense. It wasn't true. She started the fight in the store one day, and it was out the front of the store, and I got arrested for alarm and scandal. I went to BJMP for 30 days, and when I got out, she filed a case back from when she cut her hand in 2022, 4 years old, and then 2024, and filed 2 counts of case of Bousey against me. When it came to the court hearing, to go to the preliminary court hearing, she didn't even bother turning up to court. She just dropped the case and disappeared, and nobody, even the PMP, said, where are you? She refused to answer them. She just disappeared like a ghost. And now, honestly, I don't know where she is. I know she borrowed money off a lot of people credit, and she scammed a lot of people, not just me, and she's disappeared and nobody knows where she is. As far as I'm concerned, this woman was a professional criminal. She needs to be stopped. She needs to go to jail. I know that there's so many other things I've found out which would be too numerous to mention in one vlog about her criminal activities and what she'd done. And in the end, I found out through many of her friends after she'd been gone that, number one, she'd been using drugs for a long time and I didn't know. I had no idea. And number two, she was gambling, and that's where all my money went to. And every time she'd finished having a good time and losing all the money, she would come back to me. And from what I heard today, and I'm not saying my location, but from what I heard today, she's flew to Manila here, and she's looking for me. I don't know what she wants from me. I heard she's with a new boyfriend or something. I don't call him a boyfriend. I'd call him the next poor victim. And that's how the story went for me. And then now, because of you, thanks to you, I've got all my documents done. Everything's gone really well for me since I've been here where I am. And now I can return to Australia and start a new life. And without you, I wouldn't have that opportunity. I don't know where I would be or what would have happened to me or whether I'd even be alive. But it was you that saved my life. So for that, I'm truly grateful.
So how long you become homeless?
Well, I sort of was homeless for probably about 2 months before I came here where I am now. But if you want to put it in terms of being homeless, I had a house that I lived in, but there was no furniture, there was no food, there was no money, there was no cell phone. So, I wasn't sleeping in the road, but I may as well have been. And that, if you wanted to say, how long did I suffer? Well, I was 120 kilos and a big, strong guy when I came to the Philippines 2 years ago. I'm 75. I've lost 45 kilos in body weight because of lack of food for the last year and a half. And she would use food to me as a punishment. If I didn't do what I was told, like a dog on a chain, chained up, if I didn't do what I was told, she wouldn't give me food. And then she'd disappear for a couple of days or a couple of weeks or a couple of months. And then all of a sudden she'd be like, come back, and then it's like, oh, but I rescued Chris and look how good of a wife I am. And look, it was just torture. It was torture. When I go back to my country, I'm going to go and have to find a psychiatrist or a psychological counsellor to overcome the trauma that this woman caused me over the last 2 years. I've suffered complete trauma. Last year, I had a nervous breakdown because of this woman, and I went to the mental health unit in Nara on Palawan Island, and I checked myself in with them to be assessed for depression. And the psychiatrist there said to me, Chris, you had a nervous breakdown. You're suffering from psychological trauma. And they prescribed me medicine, and then I ended up going back to my house, and that's pretty much it in a nutshell. That's the story.
So all you want for this time is just to go back home?
I just want to go home. When I get back home, because I'd sold everything, I don't have family there, and because I'd sold all my assets and everything in Australia, when I go home, I'm still going to be homeless. But at least I'm from a country that is a land of opportunity. I mean, my government will help me. I'll try and access some of my pension on compassionate grounds. And at least if I'm in my own country, I'm safe, you know. But here, I don't feel safe here. There's no opportunity for me to go. I mean, if it wasn't for you helping me, what do? Go and sleep in the river or sleep in the road and sit there with my hand out begging people for money? And in 4 years, you could say, between the house, the cars, the money, the motorcycles, the businesses and everything, I would say over the entire 4 years, I would have lost probably 8.5 million pesos to this woman. She bankrupted me.
So at least now you start to recover and you can start a new life.
Yeah, I can recover and I can start a new life, and it's all thanks to you and Joey and all the other people that have been very supportive, the people that are here in this place. They've been really, you know, it's the first time in the Philippines that I've actually experienced good, kind, decent people. Everybody else, when I had money, everyone was my friend, and they were there just to take advantage of me. They were there to steal, scam. She wasn't the only one, there were others, but she was the main perpetrator. And as far as I'm concerned, she needs to be stopped and she needs to be put in prison for the crimes that she's committed, not only against me, against all the other people that she scammed out of money out of. Because I'm not her only victim, and I found that out, and that's